Swinging a high drive into center field. Hits at the wall. It is gone! Casas does it again. It's gone! It's into the bullpen! This game is tied! This game is tied!
And he swings and rips one to center field. It's high, it's deep, it's back, it's gone! Sale winds, he fires. Swing and a miss, strike three, it's over! The Red Sox have won the World Championship!
Heyo, welcome back to Play Tessie. It is episode 93. If you're listening on drop day, it's July 9th. This is the official podcast of Never Speaking of Cohasset Again, also known as the official Red Sox podcast of WEI. Before we get going, remember, hit that subscribe button if you're on Apple, Spotify, or the Odyssey app. Subscribe. It helps us out a ton. Hit the 5 stars. We really appreciate when you guys do that. Check us out on YouTube. We're on the WEI page. We've got a Play Tessie playlist. You can hit the thumbs up on those videos, and that also helps us out a ton. Also, check us out on the socials at Play Tessie on Twitter and Instagram. I'm here with Sammy. I'm here with Pat. We are back again because guess what? It's another episode this week talking trade deadline. And I think the place to start here is Buster Olney, both before the game and during the game, talking about how the Red Sox are undecided about buying and selling. This is a team that is a game and a half up on a playoff spot as we speak. They are off Monday, playing Tuesday. So as this drops, they have a game tonight against Oakland. Joe, do we have that audio of Buster Olney talking about that report? Do we have that?
The Red Sox are really right there in the playoffs in the wild card. What do they figure to do at the deadline?
Yeah, as of today, Kevin, they would be in the playoffs. According to Fangraphs, their chances for making the postseason as of today, 43%. And yet when you talk to executives with other teams, they say that the message they're getting from the Red Sox is they're undecided. If they do decide to add their primary need, a starting pitcher, they also could use a right-handed bat, help to balance out some of the other parts of their team.
So, I mean, obviously, if they add... They need a right-handed bat and a starting pitcher. Honestly, I should have said it the other way because I think they need, at this point, the starting pitcher a lot more. But it's crazy to me to hear, and obviously, I get things can change. They could go on an 8-game losing streak between now and the trade deadline. But to me, at this point in time, there shouldn't even be a thought of selling. The literal worst-case scenario to me should be that they need to, that ownership is, the worst case scenario for them as it stands today should be ownership isn't letting you add salary. So you have to get creative to add in areas of need. That should be the worst case scenario. Yeah. There should be no thought of actual selling. But I want to let Sammy and Pat, I want to let you guys weigh in on this because I honestly feel like you guys might even be more fired up than me about this.
Okay, I thought this was weird. The way that he worded it, he said, when talking to other executives from other teams. Now, 2 things that come to mind. One could always just be those guys posturing. Saying stuff to the media so it gets out in the public airwaves to elicit a certain response. Who knows? But more importantly, my follow-up question would be, do executives from other teams generally know if other teams are buying or selling? Do GMs go out there and say, hey, we're going to be buying? Because if they do, I feel like that would be forfeiting a lot of leverage, telling the other party exactly what you're trying to do. Because then they can gouge the price and be like, well, you said you're buying. This is the price. If you're more we're not sure, you could leave it open that you could walk away from the table. It would, that kind of makes it so that the other side of the deal can't just jack up the price. I don't know. I thought it was weird how he worded that part.
I've got my idea as to why it was there were reports. I know Chris Cotillo was all over it with Teoscar's agent in the offseason talking about how agents were saying, and I think I'm just assuming that it was Teoscar's agent, but he was talking with agents that were saying that the Red Sox are cutting payroll. This is coming from other people who are saying that the Red Sox negotiations are talking about how they need to fit under a certain budget. So it's not like the Red Sox leaking their budget, but it's you can tell by the types of conversations that they're having that is the direction that they're taking. And in this case, I would think that it's the Red Sox are calling up some team and being we are interested in this major league player. And then they're also calling up maybe even the same team if it's a borderline buy or sell team and saying, we're interested. Are you interested in Kenley Jansen or something? Are you interested in Tyler O'Neill? and like they're still having those conversations. That's where I think it comes from. I think it's probably just like executives saying, I mean, yeah, we've had this type of conversation with the Red Sox recently.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it's got to be how phone calls are interpreted, right? I feel like if teams are calling O'Neill and Kenley and those guys, and they're not getting a straight up no, I could see how maybe they might be selling, but at the same time, I'm with Sammy. How do you know a team's direct position a month out from the break when no move has been made? Like it's just weird to me. And then he follows it up with the exact needs that the Red Sox from within know they need. It was just very weird.
Pat, no moves have been made. What about I'm certainly not Googling his name as I'm talking.
Trey Wier.
Trey Wingenter. He's one of the players of all time. He exists, and he is now with the Boston Red Sox, acquired today on Sunday. So you think they're not buying? Think again. It's a minor league reliever. What's up?
Yeah. I don't, regardless of how he gets the information, I get that the Red Sox have to cover all of the bases and they have to put groundwork together for all scenarios. Like that, yes, they are a game and a half up on a playoff spot as we record this. So we're thinking bye. But I guess I guess in case of a collapse, you have to have those conversations of, hey, if this happens and we need to sell, like, do we have this groundwork in place to potentially sell off? But I swear, man, like it better be like 85% of the conversations they're having better be towards what are we adding to this team?
Can you imagine, like, you get a notification on your phone and it's like Red Sox trade Kenley Jansen to the Phillies and they get like 2 prospects. And then we look up the 2 prospects and it's like the Phillies like 4th and 8th prospect. Can you imagine how depressing that would be?
And that would be good value. Like that'd be a good haul for him, and I'd still be depressed.
Yeah, that would be. That'd be a good return, and I'd still be like, this is miserable. This is not baseball. This is just helping John Henry balance the numbers. That would be so deeply, deeply depressing. And still Red Sox fans are rooting for it. I see it on social media. They're like, well, you can really maximize his value. Stop.
That's the overwhelming minority, though. I really don't think there's very many people that want to trade him to maximize the value.
You're probably right. I'm talking about internet people, which is generally the younger crowd, which is the people who more percentage of their lifetime was the Bloom era. They haven't seen as much baseball. So I guess, yeah, you're probably right. But just blows my mind that people would still advocate for that. That's just, see you next year, really? Already?
I want to go back to what you said about getting that notification. Like, to me, it so matters, like the order of operations here. Like if we saw the Red Sox trade for Zach Eflin and then 3 hours later they trade away Kenley, I would be like, like why ownership? But like if they trade away Jansen first, then what that looks like to me is, oh my God, they're selling. Like to me,
they both suck.
Buy and sell. Yeah, it sucks, but straight up selling is worse than the buy and sell. At least the buy and sell, like you can sell it a little bit to the team. It's like,
what's it good for though? Buy and sell. If the buy and sell, it's good to sell to the fans to make it look like you're trying. It's not going to make your team that much better at all, and it's not going to help you in the future. I feel like that might actually be worse in the long run. Well, like I would pick one direction to go in and stick with it, and the direction I'd pick is to fucking buy.
Well, I would too, Sammy. I would too. There's no part of me that actually wants to do this. I'm just saying, if like I have no faith in ownership. I think like we can keep having these conversations about buy, and we could go down this rabbit hole again. But I just like there's always going to be that part of my brain that does not think that ownership wants to invest an additional dollar in the team.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's like God, obviously. Fuck, man. Like, no, I don't want them to trade.
How good would this team? This team would be so good if you added a guy like Zach Eflin or Luis Rengifo, assuming he'll be okay.
But God, both.
Yeah,
both of those guys, and the Red Sox will make the playoffs. They will.
Yeah, you already got Trey Wingenter. You got to add to that now. It's crazy, though. We spoke about this last week, how we have to preface every single trade conversation we have. We have to preface it with, you have to assume that they're operating under this self-imposed budget, which is just so gross and so fitting with the Oakland A's coming to Boston this week.
Believe me, if we were hosting this podcast 5 years ago and the Red Sox had this record or this position in the playoff standings, we would not have a discussion about buy and sell. The buy and sell thing is literally only on the table because of what ownership has done the past few off seasons.
When has it worked? When has buying into I'm looking right now. I'm trying to find an example of a team that sold off legitimate assets. I'm not talking about like they got rid of some good minor leaguers, like sold off major league assets and then brought in legitimate major league assets. I wouldn't count the 2022 Red Sox. That felt like that was such a joke. But
the Mariners did it in
2020.
Didn't the Mariners make
year.
the playoffs doing it? They traded Graveman and then they brought in something else and they made the playoffs.
And then last year they traded Paul Sewald.
Did they
Yeah,
make
but that
the
was
playoffs
more of a
last year?
punt. No, they didn't make the playoffs last year. They traded Sewald and punted.
Yeah.
You're talking about the year before. They traded Graveman and then, but that's kind of small beans. That's like your middle relief guy, and they added.
Yeah, he was
I don't even
closing.
know.
It would be the same thing as if they traded
No, it was
Jansen
Sewald
and all.
back then.
No,
It
Graveman was
Sewald
closing.
in 2020.
Graveman was closing that year.
Graveman was closing.
And, yeah, didn't
and
it
all the
torch them?
players.
Yeah,
It
big
temporarily
time. And
did,
the
but they
clubhouse was pissed.
yeah, the clubhouse got super mad. Like they were going off to the media, and then they made the playoffs. And like obviously they didn't go anywhere there, but they made it. But one team that I wanna bring up a little. I want to bring up because a report came out on Sunday from Bob Nightingale. He has like these around the base pass things at the end. He writes an article, he releases it Sunday, and then he drops basically everything in his notebook. And he almost never has anything on the Red Sox in here. The last Red Sox thing that he legitimately had was like a month ago when he said, yeah, the Red Sox are definitely going to trade Kenley Jansen. And that was like a month ago. So things change, and hopefully they have changed. But today, this one's on the Rangers, which I found interesting because I think a lot of people have thought that the Rangers, because they're coming off a World Series title, were definitely going to buy. But as it stands today, I'm going to pull up the standings real quick. They are in the division. They're back 6 in the division, and they're back 7.5 in the wild card. So obviously, if they're within 4-5 games of a playoff spot, maybe they go for it. They've got guys coming back, guys like DeGrom, Josh Young.
They're also probably
Molly.
they're probably way over the luxury tax. Like,
yeah, they're in. Like they're in.
Every move they make is getting like to the point where you're kind of like, okay, I understand maybe cutting pay. You're getting taxed like 200%. That's crazy.
Listen to what Bob Nightingale said here. He said, quote, barring a dramatic turnaround, rival GMs expect the Rangers to make starters Max Scherzer, Michael Lorenzen, and Andrew Heaney available, along with relievers David Robertson and Kirby Yates. Interestingly, he didn't mention Evaldi there, but in his next tidbit, he says Rangers starter Nathan Evaldi needs to pitch 76 innings this year for his $20 million conditional player option to vest in 2025. He has a limited no trade clause. I'm assuming he didn't put Evaldi in there because of the no trade clause. So I'm hoping that Evaldi is still on the market, or would be on the market in that scenario. But I found it interesting just because like they have multiple starters, multiple rental starters that I don't think would cost a ton of prospect capital. I think if